What's going down, folks? It's your boy C back on the Madden 17 franchise, and before we can hop into Week 5 against the Minnesota Vikings, we've got a little front office business that we have to take care of first. Now, this is going to be a video for all of my fellow Madden franchise GMs out there, because we're going to cover the player negotiations and the big decisions that we're going to have to make this season, and also we're going to dive into a little bit of scouting. So I'm going to need you guys to get those comments ready, because even though we're only going into Week 5 of the regular season, it's never too early to start putting those team building plans together. So getting right to the big decisions that we're going to have to make at some point this season, there's a couple of starters off the bat in Andy Levitre and Matt Ryan that are both up for new contracts. Also, we've got our nickel Jalen Collins, our starting D-tackle Grady Jarrett, Tevin Coleman, Justin Hardy, Anthony Jefferson, and a player whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. So out of that entire list of guys, I think the player that's probably the most crucial to our offense is our starting left guard Andy Levitre. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, messing with the offensive line is something that I'd really prefer not to do. But Andy is getting up there in age and the skills could be declining, but here's the thing. If we decide to let Levitre walk and we can't bring in a replacement either in the draft or free agency, John Asamoah is going to have to be our starting left guard. And that might not be a bad thing in terms of pass blocking, but in the running game, that's definitely a huge drop-off. Now, the contract for Levitre, if we decided to keep him, would start at about $5 million a year, plus a $3 million signing bonus. And oh, by the way, at the moment, I believe our cap situation is about $20 million or $25 million, somewhere in that range, because we didn't really sign anybody last offseason, so we've got some cash to play around with. So the next player that we have to think about re-signing or not is Matt Ryan. We've already drafted his eventual replacement, so now we need to figure out what are we going to do with Matt. Now, since I'm the biggest Matt Ryan apologist on the face of the planet, I'd have no issue with wasting the $14 million or whatever it is that he wants and leave him as the backup to Zach Anderson in case he ever gets injured. And for those of you guys that are wondering how Zach Anderson's been progressing, well, here you go. There's no doubt in my mind that he could suit up and take the reins from Matt Ryan right now, but I'm taking the Aaron Rodgers approach with Anderson, so it could be a few more games before we see Anderson on the field. Now, the next player who's up to resign is Jalen Collins, who's currently playing the nickel for us, and I think he's done a pretty nice job for us from the second season till now. And if I really would have put the effort in to try to develop him, his play rec and zone would be a lot higher than they are now. But here's the problem. He wants a deal worth over $24 million for 3 years. That's starting cornerback salary. There's no way I'm paying a nickel starter money. It's just not happening. Now, the next guy we have to make a decision on is Grady Jarrett. He's played okay in spurts, but he's never really taken that next step to become the dominant player that I hope he'd develop into. And with that said, he's asking for a 4-year contract worth over $22 million. And honestly, maybe this is just me being hard on the guy, but I don't know if I feel comfortable giving him that. But that's exactly why I got you guys. I'm sure we're going to discuss all these potential moves down in the comment section as soon as you're done watching this video. Now, the last guy that I'm going to talk about before we move on is Tevin Coleman. He's a guy that I really would like to keep. Even though Dre Eubanks is the bell cow, I think Tevin could come in and be a pretty nice complementary piece in the running game. Not to mention, I can also script a handful of passing plays for him as well, so he's definitely got some versatility. Plus, the deal that he's asking for is 10-3 over 4 years, so that's only like 2.5 or 2.56 million a year, so that's something we could probably work out. Now, before we get to the draft class portion of the video, there's a few trade proposals that I want you guys to take a look at. We've got offers for Grady Jarrett, Jalen Collins, and also for Devondre Campbell. But take a look at this, you guys. Look how many offers we're getting for Grady Jarrett. The Seahawks are offering a 2nd round pick next year, a 5th round pick this year, as well as a 7th round pick for this year. That's a lot of picks for Grady. Maybe they know something about him that I don't. These other trade proposals are pretty mediocre compared to the one that Seattle offered. That's why you see me just kind of flying through all these different trade proposals, but it really seems like half of the NFL is trying to acquire Grady Jarrett, and it almost makes me want to hold on to him now, but that Seattle offer is pretty tempting. Next up, here are the offers for Jalen Collins. Pittsburgh wants to give me a middle linebacker and a 4th round draft pick this year. The Jets are offering a 4th round pick this year and a 5th rounder next year. Philadelphia wants to give me a 2nd round pick next year and a 7th rounder this year. Yeah, I don't know about that. And the Dolphins are offering a 2nd and 6th round pick, both from next year's draft. So we've definitely got some things to think about, you guys. I need you to let me know what the play should be here, because if we let both Jalen Collins and Grady Jarrett walk in free agency and not get anything in return for them, I think that'll be a huge mistake. So since we're in season 3 already, you guys should already know how this works. Go ahead and drop me a comment below and let me know what your thoughts are on all these moves that we discussed so far. As for Devondre, he's not going anywhere, but he would be an absolute beast in that Baltimore Ravens defense. But like I said, we've got to hold on to him because I think Shazier's going to be a little injury prone. And if I'm right about that, we can slide Deion Jones right back in at middle linebacker and let Devondre play the will backer spot, just like we did last season. Now, moving on to this year's draft class, I'm only going to cover positions where I think we need to improve or positions where I feel that there's really a genuine need. So starting things off with the defensive tackle group, there's already a few players that I've already scouted, and that's mainly because I don't expect Grady Jarrett to be back next season. I mean, that's just to be honest with you guys. So I'm going to continue to scout D tackles pretty heavily leading up to the draft. Now, Derek Choice is projected to go pretty early in the first round, so I'm really not expecting to have a shot at picking him, but he's 6'6", 328 pounds, and he's really got that body type that I'm after, and I should probably never say that again about another man, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm looking for those 3-4 big nose tackle types that'll eat up space along the D-line. And I think there may be a couple players like that in this draft. Like this player right here, Ivan Bowens, 6'3", 330 pounds out of Florida State, and I don't mind the B- tackle or pursuit, but I do wish that block shedding was listed in his top 3 skills. But for a late 4th round pick, we could probably do a lot worse. But either case, I'm expecting we're gonna have to take a D tackle in the top 5 rounds. Now, with the expected departure of Jalen Collins, we're going to have a pretty big need at corner. And you guys should already know by now, I have a specific type of corner that I look for. The most basic requirements are that they must be tall and fast. And that applies to corners that are playing nickel as well. But with the nickel corner, I want them to be a little bit better in man and also with a good rating in press coverage. And I think I found a few guys that may fit the mold. We've got Gerald Tutt with the late 1st round grade. He's 5'10". He's got B man coverage, B zone coverage, and B- press. He's a guy that I've already got penciled in on the watch list. So if he puts up good numbers in the combine, he could definitely be joining the squad. Now, another guy that's built like my ideal nickel corner is Algernon Roper. He's a 6'1" man corner with an early 1st round projection. He's got a B for man coverage, C for zone coverage, and C for press. But the scouts are now saying he's undraftable, so I don't think we're going to go that route looking for our nickel. But as you guys can see, we still got a ton of players we have to come back and scout. And plus, we still don't know what the free agent pool is going to look like yet. So either way, we're going to end up with a corner in the offseason. Now, the next position that we're going to talk about a little bit is the left guard position. Depending on what you guys think we should do with Andy Levitre, we could possibly have a huge hole at left guard. Unfortunately, there are only going to be 2 guards that might be worth taking. Paul Hasselbeck out of Texas A&M could be the guy here with B pass block, B- impact block, and C run block. He's got a late 1st round grade, so hopefully he'll still be on the board when I pick. But if for some reason we end up missing out on him, we can come right back and get Chance Cottrell. And other than those 2 guys, I've got a feeling that the draft class is going to be pretty weak because after Cottrell, the highest rated left guard is a 5th round grade. So that's going to make the Levitre decision really interesting because if we let him go, there really aren't a lot of options to replace him. Now, this next position really isn't a position in need, but I think it's something that could definitely help us out. With Julio Jones getting older and Josh Gordon becoming less of a factor, I think it could be time to look for another wide receiver. And with Zach Anderson getting ready to take over for Matt Ryan at quarterback, I really want to have a good young group of wide receivers that can play with Anderson, and in a season or 2 when Julio and Josh start to decline, we've already got their replacements on the roster. So once again, depending on what happens at the left guard spot, Corey Polley could be a guy that can come in and right away help us out. His top 3 skills are good with the catching, release, and route running. If he's got any kind of speed, he definitely could be the guy. Another route that we can go if we decide to pick wide receiver is the Vincent Jackson route. And by that I mean Vincent Jackson with the Chargers, not Vincent Jackson from Tampa Bay. A guy maybe like Aaron Edebali right here at 6'5". That type of tall, big body wide receiver. Maybe that could be a fun wrinkle to add to the offense, the type where you can just sit back and just throw jump balls all game long. And once inside the red zone, it's going to be a mismatch pretty much 90% of the time. And we've got another guy to look at here, Perry Wilbur. He's 6'6", and I was really getting low on my scouting points, you guys, so I'm not going to scout him right now, but I really just wanted to show you guys what the options could possibly be if we took a wideout. Moving on to the tight end position, Austin Hooper has been okay for us. He hasn't been fantastic or terrible, but I really think we could use another option at the tight end position. Now, there's no way in the world that I'm going to use my 1st or 2nd round pick on a tight end, but anything from the 3rd round on is fair game. Unfortunately for Ross Sampson here, that C- catching rating raises an eyebrow, so I don't know if that's the route that we're going to go, but like with all the other positions up to this point, there are still a lot of guys that I have to come back and scout, so I'll make sure to update you guys with any player I think should be added to the draft plan once I'm able to come back and scout them. So that's pretty much it for my quick draft class preview. There's a handful of positions where I think we're pretty solid, so there's no real need for us to scout positions like linebackers or safeties or quarterbacks or anything like that. But I am going to come back and scout the centers. That's one position I haven't really gotten to yet. But since Alex Mack is kind of getting up there in age, it wouldn't be a bad idea to start scouting his eventual replacement. Anyways, folks, that's all the time I've got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. All my fellow Madden GMs out there, you guys know what to do. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm signing off, and I'll see you in the next one.